morning, everyone. My name is Sheila Thomas. I'm a retired Air Force veteran. And today I have my friend with me, Clayton, who I'm going to be conducting an interview with in recognition of his 75th birthday. This special podcast will feature Clayton focusing on his military career, his civilian career, and some of the achievements he's obtained. It's a privilege to speak with Clayton today, whose dedication and support has always been to help others succeed. Clayton's story is one of many chapters. A Vietnam veteran, a United States Air Force senior NCO, a dedicated personal fitness trainer and a coach, accomplished author, a licensed minister, and a mentor to many young people. He worked through his ROTC in school as an instructor. He's worn many hats and he's touched many people's lives. Today, you have the privilege of hearing his story. It's kind of like behind the scenes, his extraordinary journey that a lot of you may not even know about. So Clayton, thank you for being here today and allowing us to celebrate your 75th birthday and hear your story.
Yes.
Before we get started, I'm going to talk about have questions asking you about your military career. But before I go there, I would like to hear some things about what you accomplished growing up. I want to start from the beginning, reflecting on your younger years before you went into the military. What were your dreams?
Okay, first I want to thank you for taking the time up and to let me share my story. I didn't really say have a dream because I was a troubled kid. And I grew up in a very poor family. I had 13 total siblings. I had a mother and had a father. And like I said, my mother gave us what she can give us. She could not give us what she didn't have. But she gave us her very best. Growing up in a little 4-room house, for you all that can remember those outhouses that we had. And taking a bath with those number 3 tubs on the outside. But those type of things that you grew up with, it make you a better person. Sometimes you think you poor when you really say rich. You celebrate the things that you have and not the things that you don't have. And so, as I said, I grew up, I was a troubled kid growing up. It was total of 13, one died at an early age. But I will say this, my mother, I thought she was the worst mother in town when I know she was the best mother in town because, when you're hard-headed, your head is like a coconut, it's hard and round. You got to keep pounding stuff in it until you realize life. And as I said, I was in the jail many times. I was almost drowned 3 times before going in the military. And my mother kept getting me out of jail because, when you got a large family, you're very pretty much survive. And I worked in the field all my life, picking beans and cucumbers and to that Jimville field. But I will say this, and not to cut the shades. If it wasn't but 2 peoples in my life that I got to thank, first I got to thank God, and then I got to thank my mother. Because if you know the trials and tribulations that I experienced growing up, but I'm still here. I seen my friends get killed right there in front of me, but I was in the same bar. You name it, I was involved. Out of all my mother's kids, she only had to worry about me. But no matter what I did in life, she always protected me, even though the girl tried to assassinate me several times. But that's in order to get my attention. Until, when you see your mother cry, that is, I don't know about many boys. Man, that's a hard feeling. If you don't have a conscience, when your mother's sitting up here crying over you, knowing that she have other kids and begging for you to straighten up and fly right. And so, again, it ain't how I started. I thank God for the military. I thank God for my mother because sometimes people can see things in you that you don't see in yourself. And it was a blessing. I think everybody praised God. Man, Sarah got son going to the military because that boy causing his mother a lot of trouble. And so, people in my surrounding, they know that I had a good mother, but they also know that she was trying to take care of other siblings. But this is the one that went to jail, got out of jail, but she just had a great relationship with the little small town community and the laws and the police. So we only had 2 police officers in the whole town. One had one arm, and then one arm Luke, and the other one called Johnny Lavatino. Now, my mother didn't play. I have to say what she always said. Nobody gonna put their hands on my kids, whether they do good or bad. They bring it to me. I'll take care of it. And that's the worst nightmare that you want growing up, that your mother says she'll take care of it. When she says she'll take care of it, it's a lesson learned. And so I thank God where I was at. The times almost drowned it 3 times. 2 times right in front of us at the age of 2, at the age of about 14. And I thank God that he heard my mother's voice. Me and her was the only one on the river. And she started yelling out loud, so, oh God, please someone. And thank God there was someone way up there here, river, hear my mother cry. And all of a sudden, man, this one guy that came, his name was Mayfield Beacom. And the current was so high. My mother said, please go save my son. He's going around the curve. And I got to thank God that Mayfield Beacom, he ran around the curve because he saved my life. And that same young man, before I went to service, he joined the service before I did. But he lost his life in a way that you would think that he's in the military now. Military men seem to have always issues. They join and put that uniform on. They become a different person. But then again, people on the outside could become very jealous. So I thank God for my God, and I thank God for my mother. If it wasn't for my mother, I would not be here, Sheila. I would not be here. All my friends done passed away. I got only a few left, but all of them died at an early age. And if I knew that if I stayed around here, I'll be part of the group.
I think you made the right decision of listening to your mother and going into the military, because you're right. It's not where you start, it's where you end. I witnessed a lot of young males in the military whose mothers came to hug me because I've saved them from the streets. Mm-hmm. You've been through a lot in your life, and hearing your story is and where you ended up at is something that people can come to you and ask for advice. So what would you say to these young men out here that are in the streets, and what advice would you give them to get their lives right?
My advice for them is that regardless of your age, whatever, charity begins at home. You got to give these kids a basic foundation. You got to teach them morals and values at an early age. When they get to a certain age, they done lost that morals and values. And my advice to all young peoples out here: stay out of trouble. Stop killing each other. Serve the community. Don't destroy the community. As I said, no matter where you start in life is where you end up. Everybody falls short of glory. Nobody's perfect. But when you can sit back and look at your life and say, man, that could have been me. So you begin to praise God. And these, I don't care who you are, race, religion, you have to. It is mandatory. You know what the military, when they say it's mandatory, it is mandatory that you develop a relationship with God. No matter where you go or what circumstances that you're going through with, you need to have God first in your life. And Sheila, I need to share this with you. I wrote a suggestion to the military since I've been out. And you know, they got that Geneva Convention. Mm-hmm. They always read that to you, the right. Do's and don'ts if you get captured.
Yes.
And they say, I say, you know what? I tell you what, every soldier that going into that war, what you need to tell them, teach them about Ephesians, the 6th chapter, the 10th to the 18th verse. This gives them reassurance that whatever they're going up against, that God has their back. Ephesians, they call it put on the full armor of God before you go into a battle. Mm-hmm. And for me, you young kids, sometimes it's your company that you hang out with. When you find someone is not going nowhere, they're always in trouble, you become part of the problems also.
seeing that. Yes.
You have to separate. Sheila, you don't spend time in the military. You've been around military family, and you can see that we have less problem with kids on military environment than the kids on the outside. Because once you put them into a controlled environment, but when you put them into a lot of time these public schools, these kids don't have morals and values. I was a troubled kid, but I thank God for the people that was around me that was praying for me during the time of my youth. I couldn't see it at that time, but I realized the value that these people played in my life.
Did you have do you think now that these children need a mentor, somebody they look up to during their childhood, especially young males, to put them on the right track, give them some direction?
Well, I think that when you got strong leaders, you have to be able to lead by setting an example. When you do nothing, nothing will happen. We know what the problem is, but we also know what the solution is. But we rather focus on everything else except focus on what is the cause and the effect of why things are going down with these young men. Sheila, I got to come back and say it. Charity begins at home. The Bible says you spare a rod, but when these kids are raising you and you feel like they are your best friend, you done lost that relationship. I want those kids to respect me just like I respected my mother. Sometimes tough love is good love. And the tough love is when you don't want to hear it, when somebody's trying to tell you what's good for you. And
that's my favorite line. Tough
and
love. I love them, but I'm your mother, I'm your parent, I'm not your friend.
Look, what Sarah always told me? Let me put it this way, boy. I will stomp a mud hole off in your gluteus maximum and dare it to dry if you talk back to me. That old time religion, that fear that she put in me is still in me, even though my mother done passed away. But you have to praise her for being the mother that she were, because, growing up in the South is not easy. Growing up into poor environment is not easy. When everybody around you not prospering, everybody talking the same thing, you got the churches. They just a place that is just for, not Christianity, just a place of financial gain. So I appreciate you asking me these questions, because a lot of people, they know me from being in the military, they know me from being in the gym, they know me from all walks of life, but they never know the things that I experienced before going to service, and then when I joined the service, and what happened after that.
So we're going to get into that. So I'm going to be asking you some questions about that. Your military service in your Vietnam service, you served the military during one of the most intense and defining moments in American history, the Vietnam War. Too many people don't have the opportunity to talk to a Vietnam veteran, and I really salute you for your service. Such experience, leaves marks, teaches lessons about you. A lot of us don't fully understand or can't grasp what you've been through. Can you share some of your experience about being there? What did it teach you about life, resilience, and becoming yourself?
Well, I joined the military in 1971, January 9, 1971. I went through basic training, and after basic training, they made me a military police. So after I went through the AZR class and I got stationed at Vandenberg, so I got some orders. We all got orders that we had to go back down to the AZR training class, military weapons, and we'll be deporting. So I didn't realize where I was going to, but I knew that I had to have all full gear on. And I don't know if you all have rode one of these C-130s. Those are some of the most aggravating planes there is. So we all sitting in these little seats in the back, with our full gear on. And first thing I know that we landed in NKP, Thailand, which stands for non-conformant. And so we had so many minutes to jump off the C-130 and get into our location for, internal training. Mm-hmm. And so I got to be honored. Vietnam, NKP left a mark on me, a mark that I could never forget. And this is not fabrication. It is my experience when in 1972, 73, is that I was working as a military police. I worked the perimeter. I worked the flight line. I worked all in the towers and stuff. I worked the entry controller. And these are things that is you in a war. Mm-hmm. And so when you work 12-hour shift, you got to learn to adjust, especially when you're working in those foxholes. Mm-hmm. And so myself, I'm going to tell you one experience that I would take to my grave. It was one day that I was, if any of y'all know anything about NKP, there is a river. They call the Mekong River. It's like a mile across that separates North Vietnam from South Vietnam. So while we being on this side, which is Thailand, and the other side was they call it the Ho Chi Minh, which they call our enemy. I would never forget. One night I got off and I would live downtown. And I heard all this bombing and stuff going on across the river. And I just happened to been off. And I heard all the screaming and stuff. And I noticed that all these thousands of people are moving to the river shore because we was bombing Laotian. And so I looked at it and said, oh man, look at it was just like a shot. So I was off that day and I looked at all these boats was in the river. What it was, Sheila, what these people, quadriplegic, they got blew up. They couldn't talk. I mean, it was a scene that I never thought that I would experience. And I said, well, look at all these boats. The time they come off the boat, you got to send them back across. I began to start taking them off the boat. Kids' arm blowed off. And if anybody got pictures of this, they'll see me in these videos. And the saddest thing about the whole thing, Sheila, is that these people, even you got all these boats out there, and they dying to get across. But once they get across, we had to unload them. But what the Thai police were looking for, they were looking for ID cards. And if you didn't have an ID card, you're going to be put back on the boat and go back over there. And it's people begging, please don't send me back. Now, when you in a war, when somebody bombing your village, the last thing that you're going to think about is your ID card. And a lot of innocent people were sent back. And I would take that. I've had nightmares about it for many years. And NKP is a place they're going to always be. You know, I was there as a military police, and then I went back. 72 to 73, I went back to the same location, 74 to 75, to close it down. But if you all have been over to NKP, you all already know where the bus stop is at. That's where all you get off downtown NKP, the bus stop. And my experience over there twice. We was going downtown one night, and everybody know what these water buffaloes look like. And this Thai taxi was, driving like a bat out of hell. He ran into a buffalo. So again, that's my first experience. And the last day, 72, 73, me and a young man was going downtown, Sheila, and we said, we're going to just celebrate the last day here. And that night, we almost got killed before we come back to the United States. We almost got killed on one of they called the Sam Lark, the little guys that pump you around in the buggies. Mm-hmm. And so that was my experience. Mm. And going back, and one of the saddest things, I need to share this, right after I got over there, my father passed away. And it's just one night I didn't feel like going downtown. And so there was a knock at the door. It was about 3 in the morning, and the guy said, it's Clayton Airline. I said, yes, me. He said, this is the Red Cross. Can you step outside? And first thing I did, I said, man, it got to be my dad or one of my brothers. So when he said, just step outside and I will talk about it. I got dressed and went outside. He said, look, your father passed away. Sheila, that was one of the longest trips coming back from NKP all the way to the United States. I cried from the time I got on the plane, from the time I landed. I said, I wonder what my mother going to be going through with. And I will say this. Why did I say it had to be my mom or my brother? It's because what I've experienced growing up. So that's the only time. I came back to the funeral. My mother was, she was in sorrows. And, back during those times, I don't know if you noticed, the oldest son got to sit up there in front of the casket in the old ways. So I just happened to be the oldest son. Now, I'm already emotional disturbed. I say, man, look, you're in the military right now. Do not show your emotions. Hang tight. I'm sitting up there and I swear to God, I said, man, you're doing good. My aunt jumped up like she was tearing in the coffin, and that's when I lost it. And so then I had to get back on the plane and go back.
You had to hold that, tried to hold that military bearing.
Yes.
While you put that uniform on.
Yes. But sometimes I don't care who you are, who you think you are. This stuff about men's, look, hey, boy, you got to be tough. There's going to be a point in your life, I don't care who you are, you're going to cry. And crying is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. Right. And so, again, I did it in front of all these peoples, and they had to take me out. And so, but then again, I had to think about my mother, and I'm getting ready to go back. So my experiences over there taught me a lesson, but I also want you to understand that people that's out there, when those guys go serve in Vietnam, I'm going to say it, and I'm going to be for real. It's about brotherhood. It's about being together. And some things that you do over when you're in Vietnam, some people don't want to talk about it. Over where I was at, we being military police commanding officers, I'm going to be honest. It's about being friendly, and everybody smoked the stuff they call gun shy. A gun shy is a form of marijuana. And you never hear no urine test. And you got commanders over there. They was doing it. Everybody around you, because it was easy access. Because when you over there, you in a war and you're thinking about brotherhood. There's nobody going to tell on each other because you got colonels and everybody else. They live downtown. And so a lot of guys get messed up after the Vietnam War because they carry that burden throughout their whole life. Then you want to understand a lot of time why these Vietnam veterans have mental health illness, because a lot of them suffer from a lot of stuff that happened in Vietnam. Especially, I'm going to say this, and I don't mean to be rude, especially a lot of the minorities, because they don't get the training they need. In other words, you serve your country, but once you come back, you're just another statistic.
That's what I wanted to ask you. History defines how people were treated, especially minorities. You're fighting for your country and everything you went through, and then you come back to the United States of America and didn't get recognized or didn't get the health care or military treatment you needed, because I've seen a lot of homeless veterans that served in Vietnam. So did that impact you any kind of way? When you came back, were you accepted? Were you given awards? Were you recognized, or were you treated differently?
Yes. And I know I can justify it, and I can certainly talk on that subject. When you look at history, when you look at slavery, and when you look at the military, it's a lot of time it's no different than slavery. I got what I wanted, but once I got what I wanted, you are nobody. And a lot of veterans, they put their life on the line every day for this country. But once they got back here, they were not treated properly. They were treated less than slaves. And a lot of our veterans, old veterans, are still dealing with that psychological impact they had to deal with throughout their military career. A lot of veterans today are suffering from mental illness. They want to take everything away from them. How would you feel if you don't went over there and fought for your country, and your country don't not want to fight for you because you just become, or you did what you're supposed to do? Who get all the first treatment? Who be recognized the most? But we all serve. I want you to think about it.
I would feel less than a human.
Exactly. You know, your forefather, my forefather would say, I'm sorry.
Like a second-class citizen. Now, I don't even know if your citizen is the right word.
Right. You're right. I think that's being nice. You know, when I look at a lot of the Vietnam guys, and I want to say this, and I forgot to say it. And one of the lasting memories that I have, and if the guy's been to this location, NKP, you know, like I said, I was a military police there. And they got an armory over there named McKnight Hall. McKnight Hall. It was named after a good friend of mine. We was over there together. And what happened is that he married a Thai woman. And unfortunately, she had a jealous boyfriend. So as he got off the bus that night, they jumped on him about 10 times and they messed his brain up. And so long story short, they messed him up so bad, he got treatment for it. And they put him in the armory to put, pass out the weapon. And so one day I checked in the weapon. I said, hey, McKnight, look, I'm going to talk to you later, man. When we came back to the armory, he had blew his head off. And so that's another memory. If they've been to NKP, when they hear that armory that they had, McKnight Hall, that was a guy who was very close because he got messed up. And when people dealing with mental illness, why would you put them into an armory when they had their brain memory?
I can speak on that. With me being in supply, I ran the armory. Mm-hmm. And we were, it's one of those jobs you have to hand select people for, and they have to be mentally stable. But I learned that the hard way because we had a guy working in the armory that wasn't mentally stable. We were trying to get in the warehouse. He had locked himself in and shot himself in the head.
Oh, wow. See?
So I know all about the armory because I handled the individual equipment. So yes, you have to be mentally stable. I had to interview people to go in there to make sure they were okay. They didn't have any family problems. They weren't going through a divorce. It's like having a top secret clearance. Mm-hmm. So yes, I understand that completely. But let me move on to your Air Force career. I appreciate you speaking about your Vietnam veteran because a lot of people keep all that in and they don't want to talk about it.
That's true.
The memories. It's hard, but you had one of the toughest jobs as being a military policeman. Mm-hmm. That's tough. It's tough today, but I can't imagine what you went through then, guarding the perimeter of the flight lines, being exposed to different chemicals and everything else. It's a lot more to it than I know what you told, but I appreciate you being transparent and telling us about that. So let's discuss some of your Air Force career. I know you spent over 21 years in various bases in the Air Force, working with different people from different backgrounds. I first met you in Aviano in 1979. You were also stationed at other bases too. What was your favorite base and your assignment, and how did your military after Vietnam shape your view on leadership and teamwork?
Well, again, when I came back from Vietnam, 74 to 75, then I went back to Barksdale Air Force Base. And then when I left there, I went to Italy, Aviano. And I can honestly say Aviano was one of my favorite base. And the reason being is that even though I almost lost my life there in a major car wreck, but it was more good happened to me than bad. I became a fitness instructor. I became a racquetball champion. I was selected to run the gym, teach overweight military, and it all because of they called him at that time his name was Lester P. Brown, but he began to be a General Lester P. Brown, and so that was it was the start of my career to become a fitness instructor, and ever since that time, I have to say he played a big impact and one of my favorite babies because once I became fitness, I started teaching a couple of classes on the Italian economy. And so I really didn't really say had bad bases. I've always blend in, if you want to call it. As long as they had a gym, I never had it really say any trouble.
I
But
know you're
only
very competitive though in the gym. You talked a lot of stuff in the gym. You very I remember you being very sports oriented and very what do I say? You challenge anybody to a game
well,
about
well, look now, look. I want the audience to know, former husband was my best friend, and they called the boy named Silky Slim. And when we talk about athletic, me and him after the game, we'll go in and have a few drinks. But it looks to me like when the more the boy drank, the better basketball player he got.
well,
And
he hung
so
around. Oh, who did he hang around with?
me, me, and I got to say that was one of the best times. I met some of my best friends over at Aviano Air Base in Italy. I don't know if I told you I became uh, the track coach, basketball coach. I was involved, and all these things happened right after my major accident. And sometimes things happen for the better. You think it's happened for the worse, but that really woke me up and say, you know what? Thank God there is a reason for the season. Aviana, I have to say, is one of my best bases. And then second, Hanscom Air Force Base, where I developed a very large audience in the gym. I taught 3 classes a day, morning 5:30, lunchtime, and a 5 o'clock class. And the gym was packed. When I say packed, we're not talking about 20, 30. It's just whoever can fit in the room. So I would say those are 2.
That's very good to hear from where you started from and how that changed your mindset. Being around people with like interests, doing things. That's one thing about being in the military. You can work, but if you don't feel yourself with, getting involved with
Mm-hmm.
activities in the community, I think that rounds you up as a person also, and it develops teamwork and leadership skills. And
Uh,
let's talk about your ROTC um, mentoring the young people. You made a big difference as an ROTC instructor. Preparing the students for leadership roles and serving as their role model. What was your
mhm.
biggest challenge in teaching the students? I think you were in an inner city school
Yes.
area.
Sheila, I tell you, when I retired and I took 2 years off, and I worked in the PDO, the publication distribution. I was in charge of the PDO at Hanscom Air Force Base, and I have Lisa working for me. And one guy came and picked up some books. He said, "Hey, man, there's an ROTC program open up in Springfield, Massachusetts, at Putnam High School." And he said, "You're only gonna work so many days a year. You're always off on vacation." So I said, "All right, give me the address." So I went out and I applied for the job. And I got to be honest with you, it was one of the worst schools in Springfield. And so when I went out for an interview, the principals and all the administration, they took me in the office and said, "Look, we're going to tell you where we up. We got gang members out here. We got, you name it. And we just going to be honest with you." And they took me around the school. So they took me around the school to all the classrooms. And I said, damn, I can see why these kids ain't learning. Now look at these desks, look at these chairs, and look what they're sitting on. Mm-hmm. And so after they took me around and they said, man, what do you think? I said, I want the job, but it's going to have to be right. So I played them. So I said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I got other people that I'm applying for jobs for. And I do love the government job. And the big price is right. So I came back to my job, PDO. And before I walked in, and my assistant said, hey, Sergeant, man, this principal been blowing his phone up. She wants you to call her back soon. I said, really? I called her back. She said, look, sir, what would it cost to get you out here? And I said, I tell you what, it's going to have to be more than what I'm making. And so she said, well, what would it cost you? So I just threw a price out there to see what they bite off of it, and not intentionally to get it. So she said, I tell you what, I'll start you out with a step 11.
Oh my God.
I start you out with a step 11. And I said, I'm pretending as if I'm thinking about it, but my mind is already made. I said, well, shit, when you got a fish on the line, let him keep breaking his neck. So I said, I'll call you back. And I thought about it. I said, man, you better stop being around your chief. You ain't going to work with a half a year. I called her back. I said, I'll take the job. She said, can you come out here and sign the contract? I went out, Sheila, I signed the contract. It was the best thing that happened to the school. And let me tell you, before school, it was July the 1st. School started in August. And as I told the principal and all those others, it's not what you can do for me. It's what I can do for you. Now, you can accept it or reject it. I signed the contract the next day. You worked in base supply. You know all this stuff that they take to DMR?
Equipment turn-ins and Duramo.
Yeah.
And then they can sell it to the public.
Yep. So I went out to DMO. I swear, I got 3 loads, tractor trailer loads of furniture, new desks, chairs. I mean, because the government was giving away to nonprofit organizations.
Well, they get new furniture every year, so it's like you're giving new furniture to get.
You're right. Well, you've been in supply. You know how to handle that.
Oh yeah, I know.
And the teachers that came back that in August said, "Man, look at all these new desks. All that old stuff we them took out." The principal had the janitors, the principal, the men, anybody that wanted to help move furniture. We made so many trips to Hanscom Air Force Base, DMRO. And I filled up, thank God, I filled up the whole city of Springfield, all the school system with nothing but government furniture.
Well, that was a great quality of life for those students because the environment, I used to run a schoolhouse, the environment in which the people learn, it makes a big difference.
That's true. That's absolutely true. And I got to be honest with you, before I left, these principals and the mayor, they recognized me. They saying, they call it the Beacon Awards. They don't give them out often. They gave me the Beacon Award because you know how much? I bought in over $2 million worth of government equipment into the school system of Springfield. But as far as my experience, that was the best thing that I had working with kids. And all kids know at Putnam High School, I never had trouble. They looked at me and they respected me. I don't know because of the uniform. I don't know whether I looked tough, but they always respected me. And any kid at Putnam High School, they would never talk bad about me because I blend in. I understood the environment. I understood how they was growing up. And even today, Sheila, I got them students contacted me and said, Sergeant, as far as we're concerned, you were the best teacher at Putnam High School. I coached the girls basketball team. I took a lot of kids to Westover Air Force Base, gave them a tour. I was involved, went to all the old folks they call Soldiers Home. The kids had to be involved if they're going to be part of me. And at that time, it's only 2 people. You got to have a senior aerospace science instructor and an aerospace science instructor, which one had to be an officer, one had to be enlisted. So all the kids looked up to me. They respected me because I did develop a relationship with them. So make a long story short, anytime some trouble getting in the school, they come and get me. Hey, Sergeant Orline, can you come talk to this class? The kids gave me the utmost respect, Sheila.
You was like a Morgan Freeman in that movie.
I think that's what a lot of kids called me.
Yeah,
They,
yeah. I could
Joe
tell
Clark.
yeah, I could tell by the conversation that you got a lot of self-satisfaction out of seeing them progress and carry on with their careers. What percentage would you say your students went into the military?
Well, you know, it's a large percentage of them is in the military right now. And I'm so proud of them because a lot of those students, I'm going to be honest with you, they stayed out for maybe a couple years. And first thing you know, I get an email, hey, Sergeant, I'm getting ready to join the military. I was in ROTC for a couple years. You think you can write me a letter? Because, you know, if you've been in ROTC for a couple, they kind of give you a little bit of money, give you a little bit more rank ahead of everybody else. And so for the percentage, I couldn't give you an exact, but I got a lot of students right now. I got a lot of my students are police officers in Springfield. A lot of them is military officers. Just to give you one example, my drill team, I had one of the toughest drill teams in Springfield, Mass. And I name all of them, Gail, Chris, Santos, you name it. I had the toughest drill team. And all those kids either wind up in the military, and one of them is the chief of police up at Burns Air Force Base. One is a pilot, one is the state police. I mean, you name it. And they always contact me. And to me, that's worth more than any money when you know that you done played a big impact on kids' life.
Did you know that I was also in ROTC? I was in ROTC. I was the class first sergeant.
Wow, it sounds like you had a lot of discipline. If you became the first sergeant.
Yes, and that's why I went in the Air Force.
Wow, so that ROTC played a big part in you.
Had a big impact on my life.
Wow.
So I always wanted to be an ROTC instructor when I retired, but the slots were limited. So I praise you for doing that, because when you get the right people in those positions, it can go a long way with those children that come from broken homes.
That's true. Absolutely.
So
I have a friend that works down in Hammond High School, and I'm gonna say this. And to me, ROTC is a way out to get ahead, to learn discipline, respect. And I must say, I went down and sub a class, and you would not believe the school is predominantly minority, but 95% of the kids in ROTC was white. And the way that these guys was handling these kids, they got respect, discipline. They gave them leadership position. And you know, and I know once you give a kid leadership position, he's going to own it, because you're going to make him being responsible. And kids are much more hard on other kids.
Accountability.
Yeah, exactly.
You have them getting mad at you and you know, she thinks she all this because she's in that position. I know exactly what you're talking about, but you know what? At the end of the day, everybody is teamwork.
That's what the bottom line.
You're in it together. And that's what you're teaching them. Leadership schools, how to be responsible, how to be accountable, and teamwork. So ROTC is one of the best programs they could ever introduce into a high school.
I think that is right on, because a lot of parents, which one you rather your kid to learn discipline in high school, or they get out of high school and because they wasn't trained properly and get killed? You know, you look at a lot of Sheila, you know, you look at a lot of high school kids, first of all, it's hard for them to graduate. They graduate with a first grade degree. It just pass them along. When it come down to taking tests, they couldn't tell you what the ABCs are. And to me, that's the best way to get rid of troublemakers. I don't want to see them next year. I'm just going to pass them on. And then at the end, that's trouble.
Right.
And I must say, you asked me earlier, what suggestions would I give these boys out here killing each other? Think about your family. Think about your relatives. Think about your children. Think about your friends. You do unto others as you have them to do unto you. Why are you killing all these innocent people? Because I wasn't raised right. Well, it ain't how you start, it's how you end. I know some kids that them did some bad things in life. And look where they are today.
And you know, I always used to tell my young airmen, you have to live by the decisions you make.
Absolutely. That's true.
You're gonna make some good ones and you're gonna make some bad ones, but be accountable for it and move forward. You know, you learn from the mistakes you make, but once you make it twice, that ain't no mistake. That's a choice. So
I agree.
I always counseled and mentored on that. I'll give you one pass and I'll tell you how you go from there on. But once I tell you and guide you and coach you and mentor you, and you choose to do the same thing over, making a mistake, I can't have you back. I can't fight for you.
Hey,
I
that's
still love you.
discipline.
I still give you tough love. I still love you. But you know, my
Yeah, I
eyes.
like that. I like that. That's that military discipline.
Yep, I'm in your Kool-Aid. Thank you
Right.
very much.
Right.
So, let's talk about your fitness and your coaching. I know you have a passion and a commitment to fitness. You train, you coach, you inspire so many people overseas, Air Force, Army, probably more than that, European, stateside. How did this calling, how did you get into this to be a calling? I mean, because you, like you always say, you live in the gym most of your life. Um, what do you believe that physical discipline can teach us about life? How you got started with that?
There's a starting point in life. I had a starting point in life, but I've always lived in the gym since I joined the military. And I think this Lester P. Brown will get me involved with the military. It become a discipline because I always loved the gym. So it kind of goes hands in hand because everyone that knew me, they knew that that boy played racquetball, boy played basketball, even though he might cheat like hell. But the boy did, they called me the cheater. But I don't want everybody to know the name that they call me even
I know the
today.
name that called you, Susan.
But
So
don't say nothing. Don't
we
say
won't
nothing.
talk about that.
We're not going to talk about it.
I knew
But that
I put in the gym. I know what they called you.
okay. All right. As long as it's between me and you. And a lot of them call me the same thing today. But it's all in good. It's all in love. But
Yes, it was
I'm,
brotherhood.
and like I said, whatever your mind can conceive and believe, you can achieve anything that you set your mind out to be. I'm addicted. I wake up and I thank God for my health and strength. I thank Him for giving me the gift of life. And I didn't always think that, but when you get older, man, you become wiser.
Mm-hmm.
You begin to realize things that you never thought of before.
You reflect.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to be honest with you. Got to reflect back on my mother. I got to reflect back on God. If it wasn't for two of them, I think they put people on the grave right now. Is it 6 feet or they done raised the? Is it 6 feet or 8 feet they buried them now?
Well, now they bury them on top of each other.
Oh shit! Oh, let's get off that subject because I don't want to be on top. Ooh, but ooh, get away from me. Get away.
What message would you say to those that starting a fitness journey this year? What would you say to them?
I would say to them, it's never too late. For you all that are thinking that it's too old or I can't start a fitness journey, but you can make your way to Golden Corral. Okay, if you can make your way to Golden Corral, you can make your way to your health. I'm not trying to come at you, but Sheila, I can put people on one of my diet because people are always looking for a cheap way out. Your health is your wealth. And my thing is to you, to my sisters, brothers, niece and nephew, anybody that I know, if I say something to you that is offending you about your health, I like to apologize. But confidentially between me and you, I really don't give a rat's ass because you don't want to hear it. Your
Like,
health.
now, that's not nice. Now let's
Okay.
take this back a step.
Yep. All right. You're right. Let me calm down a little bit.
Calm down. Now, some people are really serious about starting a fitness journey this year.
Mm-hmm.
As a mentor and a coach, you've done it your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
What would you tell them on how to start slowly, or what guidance would you give them on keeping, like you're in the military, you got to start somewhere, you got to start slow and build up.
Right.
Some people give up before they get to the where they want to be at. So what would you, in a sentence, what would you say to them?
I would say you must listen to your body. If you don't listen to your body, you can overdo it and then it's going to cost you more. But before you start on a fitness routine, know what your health is about. Know what your doctor, if you dealing with certain types of things, it's best that you check with your doctor to let them know that you get ready to start a fitness journey, because some things you might be restricted to may cause more harm than anything. It's just like anything else, Sheila, as a baby. You got to crawl before you walk. You got to start out real slow. You got to know what you can and cannot do. First of all, if I had to tell you, start out on a journey, listen to your body, drink lots of water, but your first priority is to thank God that you're able to get up. When you start putting God first, and said, I need help. I can't do it by myself. I need your guidance. I need your strength, because this is affecting my health. And there's some things that I can control, and there's some things I can't help. But I know your words say, when you ask, seek, and knock, the door is open. I'm asking you to step into my life, because I don't want to leave this world because of something that I can control. Something beyond my ability, I can understand it.
Do you think they should prepare like a journal, or make, some people want to say, oh, I want to lose 50 pounds. Okay, that's a lot. So can we go halfway? Put a short-term goal, like you normally do. Have long-term goals.
Yes.
But to understand that those long-term goals take time.
Exactly.
Steps to get there. You just can't jump to where you at and then, okay, I want to be there. So I learned from on a journey, I had to put, for this month, I want to do this. For 3 months, I want to be here. I want to be able to do this, or do 50 sit-ups. Like when you could take your physical fitness test in the military.
Right.
You got to start out slow, and then normally you have a coach with you to say, hey, okay, we doing good. Now we're going to go to this level. So you got to level up, but depth,
Yeah, and just like you said, you know your body. I don't know it. You don't know mine. I don't know yours. But what my body may have experienced, and I'm starting a fitness program, and if I'm doing a lot of doctor visits, I need to let my doctor know is that I'm getting ready to start a fitness journey. And they're going to say, what does it entail? They're going to tell chair exercise. Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. I think that's a good way to start. And when I say, put you a timer, and just like I say, get you a journal. I started today. I want to do it 3 days a week. And you can tell that journal is going to keep you with it. It's going to keep you on it.
Yes.
Because you say, wait a minute. That's last time I was in here January 2nd, and now today is March. So what is it? Okay, right. Are you working with me? Are you working?
I used to wait in the military. I wait for the last. I did run it now lunchtime. Now I did run that 6 times, but I started running a lot more when it was closer to my fitness test.
See, again, when you got pressure on you, you tend to say, well, look, boy, they got a timer, and we're all starting out together. I know one damn thing, I'm not going to be the last one.
Yeah, I started going to aerobic class.
That's what I'm saying. And you're gonna do just enough to say, well, I think I
Yeah,
can handle this mile and a half.
I think it's
But
all good. You have people
but
that want to do the same thing.
Sheila, it's just that it's about commitment, dedication, determination.
Mhm.
Do a self-assessment of your own life. What do you want? How are you going to get there? You know, you can always make excuses. A lot of people are not hard up with excuses. You can't run out of them. But
Right.
myself, think about the gift of life that God given you. Think about what is at stake. When your health deteriorates, your kids, they health deteriorate, and you say, well, what could I have done? Well, start eating healthy, start giving God some more of your time, and then I think everything will work out. But that's just my opinion.
Hmm. Okay, so next, let's discuss you being an author. I mean, you shared your wisdom about your life,
Hmm.
and, but you've written two books now. So, can you talk about very brief on what inspired you to publish two books?
Well, I tell you what, Sheila, I was in Springfield, Massachusetts. I worked at 75 Kingdom Street. I owned both houses, 75 and 81. And down in 75 Kingdom Street in Springfield, they got a downstairs basement. And I made it into a gym. I had a pool table down there. And all of a sudden, I started writing. Every time I got up in the morning, I started writing prayers. And it become all my prayers. They say, you know what? Why don't you write something about your family, write something about yourself? These things came in front of me, and I started writing page by page. It wasn't perfect, but I just wanted people in my life to know, or my grandkids to know how I grew up.
Hmm.
And I started writing that book about grew up in the deep south and saved by many angels. This book right here,
That's a good book.
grew up in the deep south,
Hmm.
and this tell you about my trips in Vietnam's and all the things that I experienced throughout my life.
Hmm.
And this is how mostly my beginning. So
Where
this
can
one is
we find that book?
this one can be found on Amazon, or they can write to me at PO Box 24, Independent, Louisiana.
Hmm.
And and this one is coming out very soon. I'll be advertising it. Stronger than ever.
Hmm.
Age is only a number. And this
Yes.
book here will tell you about what we are dealing with: alcohol, drugs, and it break it down to race, religion, age group. These are the things, and then I have questions and answers that you ask yourself for you to do a self-assessment.
What can
This
we
is
find that book at? Stronger Than Ever.
it's going to be out very soon. It will be on my website. It will be probably on Amazon also, but I will keep people posted as to where they can find this one at. It's
And I
being
know
print.
that you dedicated to your mother.
Yes, definitely. I'm
Hmm.
glad it's dedicated to my mother, and so I think most people know having a mother is the most important thing that you can have in your life, and especially you men's. Your mother should be your proud joy because when you look at the time she spent wasting all time of the nights, making sure that you got nourishment, got love. When you think about all that, how can you forget about your mother? And
Okay.
all mothers are blessed.
Right. I agree. Now, let's talk about you being a licensed minister in your faith. You've already said a lot how your faith has guided you in everything you do in your life from God and your mother, from your military service, from teaching and coaching to writing. Has your faith matured over these 75 years in segments, or the entire 75 years? When did you start until now?
My faith is, and we talk about faith, and you talk about what is faith. And my faith is more stronger today than it were before because I look back, I began to reflect back on my life. think about where I came from, where I'm at today. I thank God that He allowing me to just talk about my life right now. And I want to thank you that you are taking the time out to ask me, because a lot of things that people don't know about my life. And when we talk about, and I just need to cross reference to something back, if you don't mind. When you talk about those guys that serve this country, and they always got it ain't what you can do for it ain't what your country can do for you. Can you do for your country? When I hear that, it can be very painful. And so when I say to you is that if I can reflect back on my life and why I think of God all the time, because man, I don't know what it feels like not to be here, and I don't want to experience it right now. But I just thank God for who He is, and He allowing me to be an advocate as to my experience to share with the world is that what He did for me, He can do it for you also. Mm-hmm. So that's my belief. You got to have three things with God. You got to have
hope and trust.
That's it. If you don't have one of those, let me give you an example. You see this right here? That's a speaker. It got three arms on it. Faith, hope, and trust. A tricep got three arms. One cannot stand up without the other one. You have to have all three. You can't say, well, I have faith, but I don't have trust, but I don't have hope. Mm-hmm. So you got to have all three if you're going to survive in the God's world.
I agree. Clayton, you've lived a life marked by service, strength, and purpose. And I'm thankful that you allowed me to give you this interview. When your story is truly powerful. You serve your country, strengthen bodies, shape young leaders, preach the word. 75 years lived with courage, humility, and faith. I salute you for your service and your dedication and everything that you've done. If you don't hear from nobody else, you hear from me as your sister, your military sister.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for allowing us with this interview, to honor you today for your service, your leadership, and everything that you've done. It's a very interesting interview and very informative to people who didn't know about your life. I mean, the Vietnam experience is oh my God, you survived. I mean, you're a survivor.
Yes.
I mean, really, and with mental wellness, and I think you're being a fitness coach, my personal fitness, that keeps you going. Mm-hmm. Dealing with stress and challenges and things that you've been through in your life. And right now, is there anything you want to say as closing? I want to pause for a prayer for you, if you want to say anything else before I close.
I want to thank you for taking the time to interview me about my life story. My life story is something that you might read in fiction books. We haven't begun to understand the depth, how many times I escaped. But I thank God for a person like you. When you talk about the Vietnam War, it's going to hit a lot of people because people don't want to talk about it. People have been damaged. People has looked like they've been left alone. And to me, thank you for letting me discuss my experiences in Southeast Asia during the time I was in, 72 to 75, Vietnam War.
I appreciate you and your transparency on it. A lot of people, maybe this will open up a lot of other people that serve Vietnam to talk about their experiences with their family. Mm-hmm. So let us pause a moment for a prayer, please. God, we thank you for the gift of this time together and for the blessing of hearing of a life well lived. Today we honor Clayton's 75 years filled with lessons, laughter, challenges, victories. Your steady hand guiding every step of his. Thank you for the wisdom he shared, the stories that remind us of his faithfulness, and the example of endurance and grace we witness. As we close, We ask that you continue to cover his life with your favor, strengthen, renew, and refresh. Let the years ahead be filled with peace, purpose, and joy. Surround him with your love, protect his health, and let his legacy continue to inspire all who cross his path. In your name we pray. Amen. Well, Clayton, thank you so much for your time and your story, your journey, and it will inspire a lot of people out there. And until again we meet, have a good day, and
Thank you.
may God bless you.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Adios.